Hello and welcome to Welfare Wednesday. Now today I'm going to just give you a little roundup on what we're doing here with Ozzy. This is Ozzy. He's a Morgan horse. He's about 9 years old, probably 10 now. And I got him free. I was given him, and he's had a bit of trauma, this horse. So he's been with me for quite a while, and we're going to look at 2 lessons today, or parts of 2 lessons today, and they're 10 lessons apart. So it's about a month apart, these lessons, and he had 10 or 11 sessions between the 2. And none of his sessions were sort of longer than about 20 minutes. So anything between 10, 15 or 20 minutes is about what he's been doing. It's all been groundwork. So he came to me when I went to buy a young horse, a young Morgan horse, and he was at the property as well. And they said that I could have him when I bought the other horse. And I said, oh, thank you very much. That'd be lovely, because he's very lovely. But he obviously hadn't been caught or handled for a very long time. When he was young, he was under saddle. So I think he's 9 now, but I think when he was a 3-year-old or so, he had a very short riding career. And then he had a nasty accident. So he's got, and when he turns around, we'll see on his right side, he's missing a big chunk of muscle out of his neck. And I think what happened, so I think he might have had a lariat or something round his neck, and then he pulled away or he bolted, and that got caught on something. You can see on the right side of his hindquarter he's also got an injury when I'll point it out when he turns around again. And so he's had this trauma, and he's been out for a number of years and not handled at all. So I don't think he's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And the reason I say that he doesn't have a lot of the symptoms that I would associate with that. He's certainly experienced some trauma, but he doesn't react in the same way as I would say. So I think those horses that have suffered from PTSD show symptoms. One of them is they tend to sort of wake up suddenly. So you think everything's going all right and they're doing what you're asking them to do, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I suddenly woke up. So what that tells me is that before that they've shut down. So I think that's quite worrying. He doesn't do that. He's very alert all the time. He always knows where you are, and he always knows where he is. The other thing those PTSD horses do is they tend to panic. So if they get scared of something, they run. They're very forward-going horses. They'll run straight over you, they'll run straight over the fence or through the fence, and that it's a real panic reaction. He doesn't do that. He gets scared, but he doesn't really move his feet much. If he's already moving his feet, he'll move his feet a bit faster, but I've never seen him panic. So that's a good thing. The other thing I find with those PTSD horses, or horses that I think are suffering from PTSD, is their memories aren't very good. So you can teach them a lesson like this and they don't actually retain the information very well. Ozzy retains information very well. This is his first attempt at having a girth put on, and you can see T's working quite hard here, but he's just moving away enough to make it quite difficult for her. It's quite hard for her to reach underneath him and grab that. So she's using the ground quite well. She's got a nice long lead rope, and she's just making sure that she doesn't have to get in a dangerous position there, which is good. Ozzy has never shown really any sort of defensive or aggressive behaviors at all, but he does always know exactly where you are and how to move so that you can't do exactly what you want to do. So this was his first lesson at having girth, and I say we had 10 or 11 lessons after this, and then coming up next is his second time long reining. So we did get the girth on him. We habituated him again to wearing a girth. and then we started long reining. So for the weekend workshop, I want to actually show you how we started the long reining. So we're going to have a sort of a 20 or 30 minute lesson, and I'll show you exactly how we went about teaching him to long rein. I think it's been a really good exercise for this horse. I think what happens with a horse like this, he's quite a big horse, I'd say he's probably 16-1. He's a Morgan, and he's quite impressive, and you'll see when he trots, he's got this quite impressive movement and things, so it can be a little bit intimidating. And what happens is we sort of back off a little bit, so he gets a bit scared, we get a bit intimidated, and everybody ends up getting a little bit more scared. And so it becomes very hard to regulate his emotional level. So what we decided to do was just sort of maybe work him at a little bit higher emotional level than we normally would, just so we can do things like this, like move him up to trot, bring him back to walk. And that way, if we keep playing with his emotional level, we learn to regulate it ourselves, and he then learns to relax. So asking him to trot here, the first time we did long reining, we didn't ask him to trot, he just did walking. And then I'm making sure that he doesn't get anxious about it and start trotting too fast. So he actually did really well. And I think this is going to be a great way of learning to regulate his emotional level and really helping him relax with the lessons and getting more information and learning to be more confident. I think horses like this are greatly lacking in confidence. So this weekend workshop, we're going to walk through how Ozzy learnt to long rein and show you how that gave him so much more confidence and really was a big step towards the rest of his training. So I'm really pleased with Ozzy, and I look forward to seeing you at the weekend in the weekend workshop.